We're going to show you a variety of tips and tricks to install a really difficult tire on a difficult rim. Some may work for you, some may not. At the end is a really important tip that you should look at that prevents you from having pinch flats after you've installed the tire. So be sure to see that towards the end of the video. With the tube slightly inflated, lightly coat the entire tube with some talc or baby powder. We'll explain later why this is important. We're going to be using a non-foldable gator skin tire, which can be notoriously difficult to get that bead on to the particular rim. We'll use an Open Pro rim. I know there are more difficult ones, but let's demonstrate with this. We begin by putting one bead on. I usually will start at a certain point so I know where the valve hole is, and we'll start it here where it says Continental, and I'll go ahead and put one bead on. Alright, once we have one bead on, we're ready to install the tube. Let's let a little bit of the air out. We're just going to let a little bit remain. Pull back the tire bead, insert the valve, and then pull back further on the bead. Pull it up to get the tube inside of the rim. And we'll move all the way around. Moving that tube into the rim. Notice I'm using gloves to protect my hands. Now, starting opposite the valve, we'll begin by inserting the bead up and over the rim. Towards the valve. At this point, we'll let all of the rest of the air out. Now, one of the keys to inserting a difficult tire is shake that tire tube up and the tire bead towards the middle of the rim. The rim has a slight groove in the center, which essentially lessens the circumference of the wheel, and by moving that both beads into the center will make it easier. You may have to do this several times as we work. Then we'll move around to the other end. Begin inserting the bead. You take one hand, hold it, and then the other hand is the one that pushes it up and over. Again, we'll center. We'll move the tube at the end of the valve up into the tire. Try pulling this up. Again, left hand holds it, right hand pushes. Try from the other side. Presto. A lot of work. Now sometimes this doesn't work and we're going to need some other aids. Some people suggest using a little bit of soapy water squirted under the bead onto the rim, and this will help you by hand to get that bead over the rim. Of course, this means you need to carry some soapy water with you in case you get a flat out on the road and need to change the tube. My preference is to use something called a Crank Brothers Speedier lever, one end for bead removal, the other for bead insertion. Let's see how this works on this particular tire and rim. With our Speedier lever, we'll take the installation portion of the Speedier lever. We'll take it at one end, down towards the valve, insert it at the other, and the bead goes right in. I try not to pass this through across where the valve is because I don't want to take a chance on damaging the valve itself. Another tool at our disposal is called the Kool tire bead jack, and we have a video up in the upper right hand corner. One end inserts into the rim, while the other end is used to pull the tire over, that's the tire bead, over the rim itself. You have to be careful not to damage the sidewall as you do this, and to keep the other portion inserted into the rim. So we'll try to give this a shot. You have to go slowly. It does work. Some people swear by it. If you want to take this with you in case you get a flat, you're going to need to cut off about a third of the end so you can stick this in your back pocket. To supplement the methods that we have showed you, consider using a thinner rim tape. On the right here we have Velox. On the left is Stans, which is much thinner than Velox. In fact, we can wrap this particular rim tape, which is used for tubeless tires, we can also use it on our clinchers. You can wrap it around twice, punch the hole where the valve goes through, and it will still be thinner than the Velox. One can also consider using an ultralight tube such as this Q-Tube Superlight, which is both thinner and lighter and may give you more room inside the rim to install that second bead. However, they do come with some specific warnings. Number one, don't use a tool. You install these by hand since they are thinner and more likely to be damaged by any kind of tool that you should use to help install the tire bead. Number two, they do lose pressure over the course of the day, so you need to refill the tube and tire each time you go out for a ride. Now, the real key in preventing pinch flats once you've got your tube and tire installed. Go ahead and place a little bit more air back into the tube. We're going to want to shake the tube up into the tire while we look at the rim tape to make sure that the tube is not caught under the bead. There's a little bit too much air here. We'll let out just enough so I can pull it back and have a good look. Let's try that. We'll make sure the valve is free, and then we'll go ahead, and I like to do it in this manner. Let me show you, if I can, what I'm doing here. I'm pulling the tire back so you can see the rim tape and make sure that the tube is not caught under the bead. And I will do that first, make sure the valve is clear, and I will do that all the way around while looking at the rim tape. Again, we'll try to see if you can see that yourselves. We go all the way around, shaking and looking, ensure the valve is free, and we'll repeat on the other side, and when we've completed the process, we'll go ahead and fill the tube and put it back on the bike. The last tip about shaking the tube up into the tire and checking that there's no pinch flats is probably a real key. Finally, if you can't get that tire bead over the rim, you can have real problems out on the road if you get a flat. And I suggest you reconsider another tire and rim combination so you can change that flat out on the road. If you have any other suggestions about difficult tires, installation, other tools used, please comment below. Subscribe to keep up with our latest videos. This is Tony of Tony 10 Speed. Safe cycling.